At dinner, my mom humiliated me for not owning a penthouse like my brother. They all laughed until I revealed he's been renting it from me for years. The table fell silent, my mom froze, and my brother's smile disappeared instantly. Hey, Reddit! Growing up, my family treated my younger brother like he was made of gold and treated me like background noise. I kept my head down, built my own life quietly, and figured that was the end of it. Turns out they weren't done dragging me into their nonsense. Before things got messy, here's how it all started. My name is Jason. At the time, I was 28 and working in real estate finance. Nothing flashy on the outside. A small apartment, a quiet life, the same old car. My family has always acted like I'm the background character. That started early and pretty much shaped everything. Growing up, the star of the house was my younger brother, Logan. If he walked into a room, the energy shifted like someone special just showed up. Didn't matter what he actually did. The confidence, the charm, the whole loud but likable thing. My parents ate it up like it was proof he was destined for great things. My mom, Monica, was the biggest supporter of the whole Logan is amazing belief system. She loved making everything into some kind of lesson. If I said I wanted to try a new hobby, she'd twist it into a talk about what a real man focuses on. If I didn't tell her my plans, she'd act like I was shutting her out. If I did tell her, she'd pick through every detail and then guilt-trip me the moment I pushed back. I learned pretty fast that nothing stayed simple with her. My dad, Frank, wasn't the loud type. He didn't pick sides outright, but he had this thing where he'd jump in with the worst possible comments at the worst possible moments. If Logan did something stupid and I reacted, Frank would go, "Well, let's look at it from Logan's side too," which never helped and always ended up with me looking dramatic. Even as kids, he did that. It was like he thought arguing both sides was some deep wisdom. The best example of our family dynamic happened when we were little. When we moved into a new house, there were 2 bedrooms upstairs. One was bigger with a big window and enough space for a whole setup. The other was just normal. I was older, so I figured the bigger one was mine. Nope. Monica said, "Logan is more energetic. He needs room to express himself." That was her word. Express. I got the smaller room because apparently being quiet meant I didn't need space. Birthdays were the same way. Logan wanted a new bike. He got the top model. I asked for running shoes once and got the cheapest pair on sale. If Logan brought home a drawing from school, Monica hung it on the fridge like he was some prodigy. If I got an A on a math test, she said, "Well, of course you did. You're the responsible one." There was always a way to flip my wins into something plain. Logan learned how to use all that pretty early. If he annoyed me and I told him to knock it off, he'd go straight into the classic lines. "Relax, it's not that serious," or "I'm just messing around." Or then he'd smile in that way that made the grown-ups say things like, "See, Jason? He's just being playful." I'd be the one told to lighten up. If we ever argued and I actually had a point, Logan would twist it until suddenly I was the one who misheard or didn't get the joke. That gaslighting stuff wasn't a word in our house, but he was basically fluent in it before hitting middle school. And he got rewarded for it because Monica loved his quick thinking, and Frank always defended him by saying, "Logan didn't mean it that way." After a while, I realized trying to correct anything just made it worse for me. The more I pushed back, the more I got labeled as uptight or too serious. The more Logan messed around, the more charming he looked. So I adjusted. I stayed quiet, kept my opinions to myself, and went along with whatever made the house peaceful. If Logan wanted the bigger room, take it. If he got praised for stuff he didn't even earn, fine. If I did well in something and no one cared, whatever. I stopped chasing approval because it was never coming. Not for me. By the time we hit high school, Logan was basically a golden retriever with perfect lighting. Teachers, family friends, cousins, they all loved him instantly. Meanwhile, I was the kid people forgot was in the room until they needed something heavy lifted or something fixed. I didn't hate him. That's the weird part. I just learned there wasn't space for me to be anything else. If Logan took up the whole stage, the only place left for me was the side hallway. So I chose the lane no one else cared about, working quietly, minding my business, doing things at my own pace. I figured if my family wasn't going to see me, then I'd build a life they couldn't argue with. But at that time, I didn't know how far that would go. Or that one day Logan would walk straight into something I built without even knowing it. Or that the same dynamic from childhood would turn into something way bigger than just bedroom sizes and fridge drawings. Back then, I was just the quiet older brother. And in their eyes, that's all I would ever be. College is where the difference between me and Logan really showed up. He got into this well-known university that my parents treated like it was proof he was a once-in-a-generation talent. Tuition? Covered. Housing? Covered. Spending money? Monica slipped him extra without even admitting it. The day he opened the acceptance email, she was crying and hugging him like he already changed the direction of the whole family. I didn't take that same route. I started at community college because it made sense and didn't wreck my bank account. I juggled 2 jobs at first, sometimes 3 when hours got cut. Morning shifts stocking shelves, late shifts doing deliveries, weekends tutoring whoever needed to pass basic algebra. I wasn't miserable about it, but it definitely wasn't the story Monica bragged about to relatives. She kept pushing into my business during this time. She'd show up unexpectedly, just to check on me, then use the visit to question every choice I made. If I was studying, she'd start giving speeches about how a real man doesn't hide behind books. If I didn't answer her calls right away, she'd leave guilt messages like, "I guess you don't need your mother anymore." When I called back, she'd slide into more advice I didn't ask for. Every conversation felt like a report she was filing. Meanwhile, Logan was coasting at his school, like it was a stage built for him. Nothing he did was actually impressive, but you wouldn't know that from how he acted. If he went to one networking event, he'd come home talking like he was leading a startup. If he passed a regular class, Monica treated it like an accomplishment that deserved a post on the family group chat. Logan took all that and ran with it, talking big about business ideas that never went anywhere. He'd say things like, "Some people are built to build empires," meaning himself, of course. When Logan graduated, Monica planned a celebration like he was royalty. She rented a whole event space, hired some local photographer, ordered decorations with his school colors, the whole package. People from every corner of the family tree showed up. Logan walked in wearing this confident smile that he knew everyone loved. Then they surprised him with this expensive new car, something shiny that immediately became the center of the evening. Every relative got a picture with him next to it, like they were posing with a celebrity. My graduation a year later looked nothing like that. I finished near the top of my class after transferring to a state school, and the family dinner for me was at a regular place with just my parents, Logan, and Aunt Denise. Monica handed me a card with a small gift card inside and said she didn't know what I needed. Logan joked about how I could finally upgrade my wardrobe, and Monica laughed like he was hilarious. It wasn't mean on purpose, but it still landed the same way. Aunt Denise made everything worse. She's the type who tries to pry information out of you like it's her hobby. She sat down next to me and immediately asked, "So, Jason, do you have anyone special yet?" Loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Then she followed with, "How much are you making now?" Like she had any right to know. I answered short and clean, but she kept pushing, saying she asked because she cared. Later, I heard from a cousin that she repeated everything to half the family, adding her own comments like, "Jason seems unsure of himself," or, "He's not moving as fast as Logan." She acted shocked when I confronted her, saying I was being too sensitive. That became the theme of everything. Anytime I pushed back or corrected something, even gently, the whole family defaulted to the same line. "Jason, don't be jealous." They said it automatically, as if the only reason I could possibly be frustrated was envy. Never mind the years of differences, the uneven treatment, or the fact that I was actually working harder than anyone realized. If Logan exaggerated something about his future, they called it ambition. If I pointed out something real, I was trying to steal the spotlight. After a while, I stopped explaining myself. Every time I spoke up, it turned into a lecture from Monica or a "let's consider both sides" speech from Frank. Logan would smirk and say he didn't mean anything by whatever he said, like always. It was easier to stay quiet and focus on what I was building for myself. By the end of college, Logan looked like the family's rising star. I looked like the dependable older brother who would figure things out eventually. And nobody had any clue how wrong they were. After college, I took the first job that made sense, an entry-level role at a small investment firm. The pay barely beat what I made juggling college jobs, but I didn't care. The company was small enough that I could learn fast. I sat in on meetings I shouldn't have been in, asked questions, handled real projects. It was stressful, messy, and exactly what I needed. I lived in a cheap studio that barely fit a bed and a desk. No elevator, thin walls, a kitchen the size of a closet. My car was the same old Honda from high school. The AC worked when it felt like it. I didn't go out much, didn't buy new clothes, didn't pretend to keep up. I just worked, studied, and saved. My routine was simple: work during the day, study at night. I was grinding for my Series 7 and 66 licenses, spending nights buried in textbooks and practice tests. It wasn't glamorous, but it moved me forward. Monica didn't see it that way. Every call turned into a speech. "Logan is living like a man. Why aren't you? You're wasting your 20s hiding behind work. You need to take risks if you want to get ahead." She recycled the same lines so often they sounded rehearsed. If I told her I couldn't afford weekend trips or parties, she'd sigh like I disappointed her. Then she'd switch gears. Was I dating, networking, building connections? Every question carried judgment, like she'd already decided the answers. Logan, meanwhile, looked like he was thriving. He moved into a nice apartment despite not working full-time anywhere. His money came from friends, girlfriends, and projects that existed only on social media. He'd show up at family dinners dressed like a brand ambassador, talking about business ventures that never went anywhere. Monica ate it up. Logan just has that spark, she'd say. He knows how to put himself out there. Then there was Trevor, one of Logan's closest friends, the kind who made himself at home anywhere. He showed up at family dinners more often than some relatives, laughing loud, flattering Monica, and making Logan look even better. He always slipped in a joke at my expense. Jason, you still driving that old thing? Man, you work too much. When are you going to start living? He'd laugh it off, Monica would smile, and Frank would stay quiet like always. None of them saw what I was actually doing. After a couple of years, I switched firms twice, each move bringing better pay and more responsibility. I dove deeper into real estate finance, learning how deals were structured and where real money moved. I liked the challenge of numbers that built something tangible: properties, portfolios, futures. By 24, I was finally breathing. Not rich, but comfortable. I still lived small. Same car, same apartment, but my savings were stacking. Every extra dollar went toward investments. I wasn't chasing flash. I was building a foundation. Cousin Blake reappeared around then, suddenly interested in finance. He'd always gravitated to Logan because Logan made everything sound exciting. Blake was the kind who chased trends, bragged about the next big thing, and bailed before understanding any of it. When he found out about my job, he started poking. So, Jace, how much you pulling in now? Before I could answer, he'd add, Logan's killing it, man. You seen his socials? If I said I was focusing on long-term growth, he'd roll his eyes. You're overthinking. Logan just knows how to win. He made it sound like my quiet progress was failure, and Logan's empty showmanship was brilliance. It became a pattern. Anytime I tried explaining what I was building, someone twisted it into proof that I was too serious or jealous. So I stopped explaining. I let them believe whatever they wanted. I worked, studied, and kept my plans to myself. I watched Logan build his image. Expensive photos, borrowed luxury, praise he didn't earn. I built something else. Discipline, leverage, stability. I learned markets, built credit, built options. The difference was invisible from the outside, but real. Everyone around me was drawn to Logan's glow, but I knew better. Image doesn't pay the bills, and charm doesn't build equity. While they were clapping for him, I was quietly setting the stage for the moment everything would flip. So I stayed in my lane, stacking knowledge, money, and patience, brick by brick, dollar by dollar. Logan was busy performing success. I was busy creating it. And one day, when the time was right, that difference would finally matter. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the real estate market behaved strangely. High-end units that once sold instantly started lingering. Owners who used to brag about never negotiating began slashing prices. I watched it closely, not because I was ready to buy, but because I'd been saving for years and wanted to be prepared when the right deal appeared. That deal showed up in the form of a penthouse at Harrison Tower. The photos looked unreal. Floor-to-ceiling windows, wraparound terrace, open layout, sleek kitchen. The price was far lower than anything comparable, so low it looked like a listing error. Then I saw the seller's name, Adrian Holt, a tech executive who'd relocated across the country. A quick search showed he wanted to unload the place fast, not chase the perfect price. It made sense. Convenience over profit. I dug into the numbers. Even after renovation costs, the deal penciled out beautifully. Still, buying a $2+ million property isn't a casual decision. For weeks, I sat at my desk after work, running spreadsheets, checking taxes, renovation budgets, and rental yields. Some nights I thought I was crazy. Other nights it felt like the exact payoff I'd been building toward. I told no one. Not Monica, not Frank, and definitely not Logan. Monica would have lectured me about taking on too much. Frank would have tried to see both sides until I lost my patience. Logan would have twisted it into a competition. Silence was easier. In early 2021, I made the offer. Adrian accepted almost immediately, relieved to be free of it. I financed the purchase as an investment property. The bank approved it based on projected rent, and I brought a heavy down payment from years of disciplined saving. For privacy and liability, I took title through a small single-purpose LLC. Once the deal closed, I went straight into renovation mode. The bones of the place were solid, it just needed updating. I wanted timeless, not trendy, something high-end tenants wouldn't nitpick. Contractors, delays, supply shortages. It was months of chaos, but the space slowly became something exceptional. While construction continued, I hired a property management company to handle everything: screening, maintenance, accounting. I preferred a clean separation between my life and my investments. Tenants would see the LLC and the management firm, never my personal name. The lease even included a monthly housekeeping and inspection clause with written notice and a short photo report afterward. Luxury renters liked that kind of structure. It kept standards high. When the penthouse was ready, we listed it as a luxury rental. Applications flooded in. Professionals, newly wealthy couples, executives, everyone wanted that address. I scrolled through the names casually until one stopped me cold. Logan Mitchell. At first I thought it was a coincidence, but the phone number and email confirmed it. My younger brother was applying to rent my property without realizing I owned it. His paperwork looked impressive. Clean statements, strong balance, steady deposits. But I knew him too well. Logan never held a stable job. He lived on charm and borrowed shine. A little digging explained the mystery. His new girlfriend, Vanessa, came from money and had a well-paid job. The income on the statements was her money. Transfers dressed up as earnings. Vanessa's online presence screamed status. Designer restaurants, flawless selfies, luxury hashtags. She loved a man who could match her image, or at least fake it. The Harrison Tower penthouse fit her story perfectly. I could almost hear her telling Logan, "You deserve a place that reflects who you are." And he, of course, believed her. For a day, I debated rejecting the application. It would have been easy. No explanation needed. But the situation was too surreal to walk away from. Logan had always been the family star, the one everyone said was going places. And here he was, unknowingly trying to rent what I'd built in silence. I wasn't planning revenge or a trap. I just wanted to see what happened when our roles quietly reversed. So I approved it. The management firm handled the lease and move-in. Logan saw only the LLC on the documents and the property manager emails. A week later, he and Vanessa moved in, posting photos like they'd reached a new level of success. Sunset shots from the terrace, drinks held just right for the camera. I watched from a distance, half amused, half uneasy. Part of me expected disaster. Part of me felt vindicated. He was living inside something I created, financed, and designed. The same family that once treated my achievements like background noise now praised Logan for finally making it. And he still had no idea he was standing on the foundation I built. Once Logan moved into the penthouse, he treated it like his personal victory lap. He didn't ease into it either. Right away, he started calling it my place in every conversation. Family calls, group chats, social media posts, anywhere he could get an audience. He never said he owned it, but he talked like he'd earned it through some massive achievement no one else understood. People believed him because he said everything with confidence. Monica loved every second of it. She went right back into her moralizer mode. Anytime I said anything about my work or my apartment, she'd slip in comments like, "Logan is really living. You should think about pushing yourself more." Or, "You're getting older, Jason. Your brother is moving forward. You don't want to stay stuck forever." She used the penthouse as proof that Logan was ahead in life, even though it was Vanessa's money covering it. To Monica, appearances mattered more than facts. If Logan looked successful, that was enough for her. Meanwhile, I got monthly reports from Nadia, the property manager. Once a month, after the scheduled housekeeping visit, Nadia's team sent a short photo report. Clean kitchen, tidy living room, minimal wear. Sometimes there were little signs of Logan's lifestyle. Sunglasses left on the couch, designer shoes by the door, bottles of expensive skincare on the bathroom counter. Nothing destructive, just loud. He decorated the place like someone who thought taste meant picking the most expensive item on a website. Logan hosted game nights, parties, dinner dates. He'd post pictures with captions like, "Another night with the best city view," or "Working hard, enjoying life." That view became part of his identity. If someone complimented the sunset, he acted like he personally arranged it. The first 2 years went smoothly rent-wise. Vanessa paid everything on time. She liked the image of being the girlfriend of a guy who lived in a penthouse. She dressed up for the elevator selfies, held her drinks in perfect lighting, arranged flowers on the counter for aesthetic photos. She pushed Logan to lean into the luxurious lifestyle even more. She'd tell him things like, "This place matches you," or "People like us should live like this." The whole thing looked staged, but it worked for them. Then Vanessa got bored. She ended the relationship pretty fast. No big fight, No dramatic story. She simply lost interest once the shine wore off. The moment the status boost felt routine, she moved on. That was her thing. Ride the high, leave when it dips. Opportunist to the core. That's when the real problems started. Rent didn't come in on time. Nadia reached out to Logan, and he always had different excuses. A bank delay, a mix-up, a temporary issue he'd fix next week. I'd get updates from her, but I didn't say anything to him. I wasn't supposed to step in anyway. The management company handled tenants, so things stayed professional. Around the same time, Logan started dating Tara. She had a loud personality, strong opinions, and a talent for making small issues huge. She was a drama addict, the kind who stirred things up and then acted shocked when things blew up. She hyped Logan nonstop. If he complained about something, she'd jump in with, "They don't appreciate you," or "You're meant for bigger things." And where she also posted vague comments online that were obviously aimed at people in our family. Stuff like, "Some folks can't handle another person's rise," or "Jealousy is loud." Logan pretended he didn't know what she meant, but he always reposted her stories with emojis. Logan's rent kept slipping. 1 month late turned into 2. Then there'd be a partial payment. Then nothing. Nadia stayed patient, but she made it clear this wasn't sustainable. Despite that, Logan talked like he was thriving. He even started giving real estate advice to the family. At dinners or gatherings, he'd say stuff like, "Property is all about timing. You need to know when to jump." Or, "Renting in certain areas is smarter than buying." I could explain, but it's complicated. If anyone asked him specifics, he'd dodge it with "trust me" energy. Monica swallowed every word. Frank would nod and play neutral, even when I pulled him aside later to say Logan didn't know what he was talking about. Frank would respond with his usual lines. "Well, maybe he has a point," or "We shouldn't dismiss him." The worst moment came when Logan and Tara showed up to a family lunch talking about buying the penthouse. Logan said it like he'd already been planning it for months. I sat there listening to my younger brother casually talk about undercutting me, his own landlord, without knowing it. Tara nodded along like she'd already picked paint colors. Monica was thrilled, acting like Logan was becoming a property expert. As my birthday week approached, I could feel something building. The way the family talked, the way Logan acted, the way Monica compared us. It all felt like I was stuck in the same childhood dynamic again. Only this time, I wasn't a kid anymore. And I wasn't going to stay quiet. My parents picked the restaurant for my birthday, an upscale place they'd been wanting to try for a while. White tablecloths, quiet background music, servers who glide instead of walk. The kind of place where everyone sits a little straighter. I arrived on time. Monica and Frank were already seated, Monica looking excited in a way she usually reserved for Logan. Frank gave me a nod that felt like a placeholder for a real greeting. Logan showed up 20 minutes late, as expected. He walked in like he owned the building. Tara trailed behind him, smiling in that way she always did when she knew attention was on them. Logan didn't even apologize for being late. He just slid into his chair, clapped his hands together once, and said, "Man, sorry. Traffic near my place was insane." "My place?" He said it loud, like he wanted the whole table to hear. Monica lit up immediately. "Your city view must be gorgeous tonight," she said. "I bet everyone wishes they lived like you, Logan." Then she glanced at me the way she always did. Quick, sharp, judgmental. I hadn't even ordered water yet. Logan jumped straight into a story about hosting some big game night the night before. According to him, everyone there was amazed by the penthouse and kept telling him he had future CEO energy. He exaggerated every detail, acting like the terrace was something he personally designed. Tara nodded and added her own comments. "People don't get it," she said. "Living in a place like that changes your mindset. It attracts success. Logan's energy is different now." She said it with that drama addict tone. Soft, sharp, meant to stir something. Then she glanced at me like she was checking if I'd react. I didn't. Logan kept talking. "Yeah, I've been thinking about redoing the guest room," he said. "I want something more modern. Something that matches the vibe." Monica jumped in again. "You should. That's what successful men do. They improve their space, make it reflect their level." Then, turning directly to me, "Jason, you could learn from that. You're older, and you're still in that tiny apartment. It's time to grow up. Your brother is showing you what real progress looks like." She said it bluntly, not even hiding it. It wasn't a slip. It was a hit meant to land. Frank stayed quiet, which honestly made it worse. Tara smiled like she enjoyed the tension. Logan leaned back in his seat, proud of the whole scene. I took a sip of water to steady myself. I wasn't angry. I wasn't embarrassed. I was just done. Logan moved on to talking about how he and Tara might upgrade some things soon. The owner doesn't even keep up with the place, he said, waving his hand. It's just some investor guy. I'm sure he's not even paying attention to anything. I set my glass down. I've seen it, I said. Logan paused mid-sentence. Seen what? The penthouse, I said. I get the once-a-month housekeeping and inspection reports with photos. The ones you signed off on in your lease. Silence hit the table instantly. No music, no nearby chatter, just stillness. Monica frowned. What are you talking about, Jason? I looked at Logan. I'm saying I see the penthouse because I'm the owner. I get the landlord reports. Logan stared at me like he didn't understand the words. Tara's eyebrows lifted. Frank looked confused, then concerned. I kept it simple. You don't own the place, Logan. You rent it, from me. Tara froze. Monica blinked like she'd been slapped. Frank's mouth opened, then closed again. Logan finally spoke. No. You're joking. I pulled out my phone and opened the property management app. I turned the screen toward him. Leaseholder. Logan Mitchell. Unit. Harrison Tower. Penthouse level. Current balance. Several months overdue. You want to see the payment history? Logan stared at the screen. His face went pale instantly. Monica leaned in, voice sharp. Jason, why would you hide something like this? Why didn't you tell us? This is humiliating. Then she turned it into guilt, the way she always did. You made us believe he earned this. You let us brag about him. You embarrassed us. Frank jumped in with his usual wrong-timed logic. Maybe Logan thought he'd catch up on payments. Maybe he didn't want to worry anyone. Logan shook his head. I didn't know it was yours. How was I supposed to know that? You couldn't have, I said. The paperwork lists the holding company and the management firm. He looked around like the room was shifting. Then he added the classic line, almost automatic. You're taking this too seriously, Jason. I was going to pay. 3 months late? I asked. And planning to buy the place from a mystery owner you thought was clueless? Logan's voice cracked. I wasn't trying to... He stopped talking. The gaslighting routine didn't fit because there was nothing to twist. The facts were right there on the screen. He lowered his head, shoulders tight. No comeback, no charm. I exhaled once. Here's what's going to happen. You've got 30 days to either pay what you owe or move out. No negotiation on the deadline, no excuses, and you stop implying online that you own the place. Be clear you're renting. You want respect? Start with the truth. Monica looked like she wanted to argue again, but Frank put a hand on her arm. For once, she stayed silent. Tara didn't say a word. She looked at Logan like she suddenly realized how fragile his image was. The server came by with the check, saw the tension, and quietly set it down. Nobody moved for a minute. The whole table felt heavier than the air should allow. Dinner ended without dessert, without small talk, without the usual fake cheer. When we walked out, nobody said anything. Logan didn't look at me. Monica tried to control her breathing. Frank walked slowly, hands in his pockets. For the first time in years, the room wasn't centered around Logan. And for the first time, no one could pretend anymore. The week after the dinner felt like the house was split into separate weather systems. Monica called nonstop. Every call came with a guilt punch, followed by a lecture. Jason, you humiliated your brother. You hid this from us on purpose. You need to be the bigger man. She kept poking into my decisions like she had the authority to audit my entire adult life. If I didn't answer, she left long voicemails about how I'd broken the family atmosphere. Frank stayed quieter, but he didn't help much. He'd slip in the usual devil's advocate lines during the few calls we had. Maybe Logan didn't want to worry you. Maybe he thought he'd pay it back once things stabilized. It made no sense, but he said it calmly, as if trying to soften everything. Logan sent paragraphs of texts that flipped back and forth. One message would be an apology about lying and falling behind. The next would say things like, "You made me look stupid," or "You didn't have to expose me like that." It was classic gaslighting, half owning it, half shifting blame. Aunt Denise called, pretending she wanted to check on me, but immediately asked, "So what really happened at dinner?" She pushed for details, then spread an exaggerated version to the rest of the family before I even hung up. I heard from a cousin an hour later that she had already told everyone there was a scene. Cousin Blake reached out too, repeating Logan's version like it was fact. According to him, I had blown things out of proportion and should have handled it privately. He didn't mention Logan's overdue rent once. A few days later, Logan called trying to bargain. "Look, it's basically my home," he said. "I've lived there long enough that it counts." Then he added, "Family should help family, man. Why are you making this so strict?" Trevor jumped in at some point, calling me to talk things out. He pushed boundaries the way he always did. You're coming off cold, Jace. Your brother needs support. He talked like he had a seat at the table, even though he'd barely contributed anything helpful in his entire life. Tara fueled everything, telling Logan everyone was jealous of him and targeting his rise. She made passive comments online that were clearly about me, like, people hate seeing others elevate. Logan reposted one of them before thinking better of it and deleting it. None of it changed anything. I stayed firm. Family dinners became tense. Some relatives took Logan's side because of what they'd heard first. Others stayed quiet because they didn't want to get involved. Conversations were sharp. Monica tried to deliver more of her moral speeches. You should guide your brother, not kick him down. This isn't what successful men do. She aimed every sentence at me. This time, I finally shut it down. Not loud, not aggressive, just clear. Mom, this isn't negotiable. Stop trying to make this my fault. She didn't like hearing it, but she backed off for the moment. Did I feel guilty? Yeah, a little. Not for exposing the truth, but because no matter how you slice it, watching your brother fall apart isn't fun. Still, I wasn't bending. Someone had to end the pattern. About 2 weeks after the dinner, Logan realized arguing wouldn't change anything. He told Nadia he'd start packing. When she updated me, she said he was trying to act casual, saying things like, I've been thinking of moving anyway, as if it was his choice. Tara disappeared from the picture halfway through the packing process. She pulled the classic drama addict move, stayed during the loud part, vanished when the dust settled. Nadia reported the unit was left in decent shape. Not perfect, but not trashed. Logan dropped off the keys through her, not me. Once he moved out on time and left the unit in good shape, I waived the back rent. It was my choice, not a concession. Logan still insisted he would pay me back eventually. I didn't argue. If he ever did, fine. If he didn't, the chapter was closed anyway. Logan moved into a smaller apartment he could actually afford. It wasn't fancy, but it was his. For a while, he went quiet online. No photos, no bragging, no posts about views or Sunday morning routines. I think the embarrassment hit hard, but in a way that forced him to reset. He found a real job doing basic marketing work. It wasn't impressive on the surface, but it was stable. He started showing up to it consistently, something he hadn't done with any responsibility before. Over time, he stopped performing success and started building it. We had a few blunt brother talks. Not emotional speeches, just simple, straight conversations where we told the truth without dodging. That's how things started fixing themselves. Slowly, quietly, honestly. Monica slipped into comparisons a couple times, usually during phone calls. Logan is finding his path, you know? Maybe you could guide him again. I shut it down respectfully each time. She eventually learned not to push that button. Frank changed too. He started asking me real questions about my work and investments. When he realized I'd bought and managed the Penthouse myself, he treated me differently. More respect, less commentary. Half a year after everything happened, Logan was noticeably more grounded. He looked less tense, talked less about image, and didn't need someone else's money to feel valuable. He wasn't perfect, but he was real for the first time in years. The rest of the family improved too. Gatherings felt less like a Logan spotlight show and more equal. Nobody talked down to me. Nobody compared us out loud. Things felt balanced in a way I'd never seen growing up. I sold the Penthouse for a strong profit and reinvested into a bigger project. I finally upgraded my own life a little, got a nicer apartment, a better car, and actually took time to enjoy the things I'd earned. I never saw any of this as revenge. It wasn't about making Logan pay. It was about the truth finally landing where it needed to. Sometimes a family doesn't change until the lie collapses. And once ours did, everything became clearer. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.